About 30 years. So.
30 years. Okay. And what is the most expensive, the most expensive or the coolest car you ever sold to somebody? And did you get to drive it first?
Not yet. It's on order.
It's on order.
It's on order.
What is it?
And it's a BMW M5 all-wheel drive. It's like a $140,000 car.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to hearing what you have.
Go! All right, B&I, how we doing?
Doing good, Stacy.
First thing I want to do is first again, thank you guys for all the referrals. Thank you guys for welcoming me into this chapter. I was a part of B&I before. I got out of it and I came back after I went into the commercial world again in DOD. So I'm gonna kind of give you guys a little background on Stacy and where Stacy came from. I'm from a small town. That's why I say it takes a village to raise a child. I come from a small town in South Carolina. And my dad was a pastor of 3 churches. That's how small the town was. And in those churches, if you've had to sit down with me, I've kind of told you this story. They weren't able to afford cars. So Pops opened up a dealership after being a sales manager at a Chrysler dealership for many years. And so he kind of brought me into it when I was like 15, 16 or so, whatever, kind of taught me the ropes. And I got into cars, buying and selling cars. And then around 18 is when I kind of really got into it. But then the military called and life called, and I wound up here in Colorado via the real Air Force.
Air Force, what?
The true blue. And after I got out here, I learned real quick that the boys out here don't play fair in the car game. And I worked for a couple of dealerships that I'm not going to talk about, Deal and Doug and Phil Long. I'm not going to talk about them. I won't mention their names. And I did work for a great dealership, and I will say their name in Red Nolan. And I learned a lot from them, and I also learned a lot that I did not want to do this the way they were doing it. Because I really and truly learned the way of doing it was helping and giving to others. And that's why I really like the giver's gain aspect of B&I. And if I'm able to help someone in a situation that they might think they know a lot about, but they really don't, and I can help you down that road, even if you don't buy a car from us, I'm willing to help you do that and help you along the way of buying the car the right way. And what we do at AutoSearch now, what I kind of want to do is kind of make sure that we understand what we do at AutoSearch USA. The process is kind of simple and what we do. And I'd love for you guys to come in, and the first thing we have to do is what? We have to sit down. We have to sit down with Stacy, and we have to have this conversation. We go over what we call the process of buying a car in the AutoSearch way. We're not going to meet you and greet you and show you a whole bunch of cars. We're going to sit down with you at a desk, and we're going to go over what your options are as far as what your needs are. What's your budget? What's your price point? Whether you want to lease, whether you want to purchase, that's what we go over. We don't pressure you into doing anything. We talk about your options, and we help in those options. Granted, I want you to buy the car from me, ultimately, but if it does not work out that way and you need to go down to another dealership and buy the car, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say, let me help you in that decision and what you're doing. Charity, great gal, wonderful gal. She wound up buying a car, and we had to help her buy the car from someone else, not through AutoSearch per se. Now, what I also want to make sure that we understand is the leasing options that we have right now are not what you see advertised on your day-to-day television ad that you see. $2,500 down gets you this low lease. There is a thing in leasing called residual value. That to me is the most important thing you need to be looking at when you're leasing a car. When you're leasing a car, this is what you want to be thinking about. That residual value. Is it above 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? That is your buyback number at the end of the lease. That's what your car is going to be worth at the end of that 3-year, 4-year lease or whatever. Through AutoSearch, we're going to do a market analysis. When we do that sit down with you and you decide you want to lease, let's pick the right vehicle to lease. Because as Eddie will tell you, investing in a car is one of the worst things you can do. I'm a car salesman, and I'm telling you, the worst thing you can do is invest in a car because it is a depreciating value. Invest in a home, put your money into a home. Do not put all your money into a car. You put $30,000 into a car today and drive off of the lot on a regular retail dealership, you've already lost $6,000. Do not do it. So, thank you. So, when you're leasing a car, that residual value, the only reason I'm going with this leasing because I've had a lot of people ask me about leasing, so I want to make sure we clarify that. On that leasing, that residual value, what the car is going to be worth at the end of the lease. So if you have a car, and let's say it's going to be worth $13,000, $15,000 at the end of the lease, let's look at the track record of that car. If that car has a $15,000 value right now, it's going to be worth more than, a 3-year-old car has a $15,000 value right now. We know that we can buy that car back in 3 years for that $15,000, and you're going to be in the black or even. You're not going to be in the hole as if you bought the car on a regular car lot or on a regular purchase deal. Those are the things we look at. If that's the case, that's a lease option. If we look at that and we do an evaluation of the car and it says it's going to be worth $12,000, but we can do an analysis and say, well, that car is only going to be worth probably 10. You don't want to lease that car. Now you're $2,000 in the hole because it's going to have a $10,000 value, but you're going to owe $12,000 on it. It's the last thing you want to do. So if you want to come in, we can decide leasing, purchase, which is the better option for you. We also take trade-ins. I've had that question a couple of times. Do we take trade-ins? Yes, we do. We do trade-ins just like a normal dealership. Once again, AutoSearch USA, we are a brokerage and we are out for you in your best interest, but we are a licensed dealership, so we have all the advantages of a dealership. You just don't have to deal with Skippy and little dude coming up to you asking your name, where you work, how long you've been there, can I interest you in this, can I interest you in that? You don't have to worry about that guy. And then spending 4 hours with him to decide what you want, unless you are elderly. Then it may take 4 hours after we decide what you want for me to go over everything in the car. Yes. So if you don't want that experience of going down to the dealership and dealing with that 4 hours of the headache, and then spending another hour in the line waiting on the finance guy, and then you get into the finance guy, and then they're trying to sell you everything else under the sun, from chip protection, paint protection, window protection, wheel locks, all of that. Don't do it. Why? Because one, we got it right here. We got a paint protector right there. We got everything here. And that's the good thing about D&I again. This is what I love about it. The 2 referrals I got, both of them went to Paul, because they both wanted window tint and one of them wanted clear bra protection. So once again, that is one of the reasons I love B&I, Giver's Gain. All of us in this room, I'm gonna leave you with this, all of us in this room at some point had a little itch that said, I wanna do something else with our lives. That little itch was already your predetermination, that was already in place for you. That little thing that said, I want to do this, and I'm going to be successful at this, that was already put in place, and that's why you got that itch. Pursue that with everything you have. That's what I'm doing. Because I had a great job, I won't lie, I had a great job, but it wasn't nothing I loved. Do your passion. If this is your passion, if you're following your passion, it won't feel like a job. Because if you're doing what you love, it will never feel like a job. And I don't have a job. I'm doing what I love, and I love helping people. And I do believe you give and it will come back to you. Give and it will come back to you. We say that in my church too. Amen? I'm sorry, y'all might not be there. So I'm sorry. Don't mean to put that out there. So, Stacy Kennedy, I'm with AutoSearch USA, your automotive buying source, your personal automotive buying guide. Come see me. Let's have a great one-to-one if I have not had one with you yet. And if you or anyone you know needs that car, come talk to me. Thanks.